it's a big thing when you look at the context of that.
Yeah. But that's all that we did. Yeah, it really was all that I did. It was nonstop. You don't have friends. You don't do anything. A lot of times I didn't have a school to train at either. I wasn't going to somebody's class. It was me out on my back porch with concrete and AstroTurf training whatever time, day and night. And you just train all throughout the week. And then Friday comes, you get in the car, go somewhere. You compete all day Saturday. Sunday, you drive home. Monday, it's back to school.
So what was it about training that made it trump that?
I think I was probably as far as I was going to go in fighting at the time. For me to go from where I was to the next level would have taken me several years. And then going to the gym, especially when you're young, it's like the progress happens really quick and it's addictive. And then I did see that as I got stronger in the gym, all my kicks got stronger. My punches got stronger. I could fly through the air. I could do flips. Everything else improved. So it's an immediate gratification, basically going to the gym.
It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. My guest today is Clint Darden. He was on one of the first podcasts. I don't know the number. I probably should have looked. 36. Okay. Wow. So back again, you're in the States. So film some content, doing the podcast. I'm just going to jump right into this.
Do it.
And say thank you for coming out. But I want to talk about strongman just right out of the gate, because that's a topic that we have a lot of requests for. Mm-hmm. And so with strongman, and how do you set the training up?
And everything.
Or actually, let's digress just a little bit. What is your background in strongman for those that don't know?
Began competing in 2001, and in 2003, I turned pro. I was the first American to earn his pro card in 2003. So I took a year off there just to kind of graduate, because I was doing a lot more training than I was studying. So I took a year off to graduate and just get stronger. I came back and competed for a year in 2004 in the States. And then I moved overseas to Cyprus with my wife. And then from that point on, opportunities opened like crazy. Being the only American in Europe, I just began training absolutely everywhere. So I competed 2004 to 2009, somewhat semi-retired. Went in the direction of powerlifting, weightlifting, and then kind of came back into strongman at the age of 39.
What pulled you back?
Man, probably really dumbness, to be honest. I was just training just to be in shape, really. And there was a local competition in Cyprus, and they kind of begged me to come back and just enter the contest. And then they began having Masters World's Strongest Man again for those over 40. And that became really, really enticing. So then I got the invite to that, and I just went to that just to have fun. Ended up doing really, really well. And it's a huge addiction to get there and finally, I'm already turning older and grayer, so I can't compete with the 25 and 30 year olds anymore. But to be there around a bunch of other guys who also have wives, kids, house payments, all the stresses that we have in our daily lives that are still out there training, competing, and then you just get to be around all the other athletes. And that's really all you can think about after that is getting back.
How did you get into strongman?
Okay, so I began, my first love in sports would have been martial arts. Mm-hmm. So I competed in martial arts, and I ripped my entire left erector. I got kicked across the left side of my back once. And so I began lifting weights for rehab. And then, like a lot of people who began lifting weights to help you with another sport, you end up deciding that I like lifting weights a lot more than I like whatever sport I was playing. So I began just lifting weights all throughout.
Oh, hold on, because you were competing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I competed. Like 1 year I competed 46 times in a year. So there was a lot of tournaments Saturday, Sunday. I'm in St. Louis on Saturday. I'm in Memphis on Sunday. Come back home. I'll train 3 to 4 days during the week. And then Friday meant we skipped school, got in the car, drove to Denver, competed there, And the next weekend might have been Atlanta, Orlando, fly to California, New York, Boston, and everywhere in between.
So when I put that into context, you know, it's you like the training more than
I did.
The kickboxing.
Right. Yeah.
That's a big thing when you look at the context of that.
Yeah. But that's all that we did. Yeah, it really was all that I did. It was nonstop. You don't have friends. You don't do anything. A lot of times I didn't have a school to train at either. I wasn't going to somebody's class. It was me out on my back porch with concrete and AstroTurf training whatever time, day and night. And you just train all throughout the week. And then Friday comes, you get in the car, go somewhere. You compete all day Saturday. Sunday, you drive home. Monday, it's back to school.
So what was it about training that made it trump that?
I think I was probably as far as I was going to go in fighting at the time. For me to go from where I was to the next level would have taken me several years. And then going to the gym, especially when you're young, it's like the progress happens really quick and it's addictive. And then I did see that as I got stronger in the gym, all my kicks got stronger. My punches got stronger. I could fly through the air. I could do flips. Everything else improved. So it's an immediate gratification basically going to the gym. And then you start learning these little formulas, like all I have to do is eat 7 meals a day with a protein, a carbohydrate, and fat, drink a lot of milk, drink a lot of water, and I'm going to grow as long as I work hard in the gym. So, and that's the horrible thing about anything is when you know you're not getting the progress that you want and you don't know what to do to fix it. But when you're young, all I have to do is eat and train. And it's a simple recipe, especially when you're young. So it's immediate gratification. You come in the gym and powerlifting, sometimes you don't know what to do. But then that one guy comes along and says, look, man, all you need to do is get on the reverse hyper. All you need to do is get on the glute ham race. All you need to do is take your 3-board press and add 60 pounds to your 3-board press. And you're going to see everything skyrocket. And you start killing yourself with those exercises. So that's the way I felt in the gym. And then I kind of got to a point with training to where everything just kind of stalled out after years. And I went from 154 pounds natural to I weighed 306 natural over 6-7 years, something like that. But then it's kind of like, what do I do after that? But we used to have these Milo magazines, and I picked up one of those. And I remember being 306 pounds on December 26th one year. The year 2000, I weighed 306, and man, I was fat. And I went out, weighed 306 because I wanted to weigh 300 pounds. And then the next day I went out and converted my easy curl bars into farmer's walk implements and I bought a tire, just began doing strongman stuff to lose weight. Read about in a magazine, a local competition, 45 minutes away, went, competed, took dead last on every event. And I told my mom and dad, I said, the people who beat me on those events will never beat me again on a single event ever. And they never have since then. But I think strongman was the first point where I could realize I could take the love of lifting and I could throw in some athleticism that I had from martial arts and combine the two. And it's been the first sport that I've found where I can combine athleticism with lifting.
So when we go back, how are you laying your training out to be able to do that? Because it's easy to find training on powerlifting, weightlifting, bodybuilding, strongman. It's just, and back then it was even more so than it is now. It's a giant void.
Well, the only reference material I had for lifting in the gym at that point to get stronger were some VHS tapes of West Side Barbell. Mm-hmm. So that's all. So I trained just like the VHS tapes that I had. You know, you go every week on elitefts.com for the new articles that would pop up. You would read all 3 or 5 of those and memorize. I would print them out, highlight them, and I just tried to copy everything I saw on the West Side videos. And then it was just on Sunday I would go out and do all the events. And it was just basically max effort, whatever implements that you had. Of course, we're going back 2001. Nobody had implements. Now every gym has everything. Indoors, air conditioned, carpeted. Whatever I could find, I went outside and trained. I went and picked up tires, picked up just raw rocks. And my parents were so far, they were behind me 100%. So when it came to like, what do you want for your birthday? Well, for my birthday, I wanted a set of Atlas stones. So I got a set of Atlas stones back when nobody had Atlas stones, and I bought 10. I took my Suburban and drove up somewhere in Illinois. It was like a 6-hour drive. So I drove and he loaded 10 stones in the back or in my Suburban, in every seat, every crevice you could imagine. And then I drove back and then unloaded them. And then I was so beat up on Saturday and I had to train stones on Sunday. One year for Christmas, I wanted a Conan's wheel that could be converted into a Viking press, and it had to fit inside of my truck, inside of my Suburban to go pick it up. And so I drove, the guy made it. I drove to pick it up 3 hours, got it all in my truck, drove back 3 hours, and it's Saturday. And all I can think about is Sunday. I'm doing Conan's wheel. I'm doing Viking press. So I get home. My mom says, nope, it goes under the Christmas tree. We were waiting for Christmas. So I packed everything inside the living room, wrapped everything under the Christmas tree, and it sat.
I'm sure it was a surprise.
Dude, it was killer to get up and look every day. Yeah, and you know it's a Conan's wheel. You know, it takes up half the house. And I had to wait 2 months just to unwrap it to go out the next Sunday and train it. But man, I'll never forget that.
So then how did the training evolve?
Probably not much for a while. I mean, everything was still, you know, you lifted 2 to 3 times a week, and then you went out one day on the weekend and did all the events, you know, because I may have only had 5 different events to train, you know, as far as implements. So it was just, you know, I would lay out a plan. This week I want this stone for this many reps, but there was no real, you know, thought process into it at the beginning. But nobody had thought process. Mm-hmm. The only thing I knew and what I picked up from martial arts is if you want to be good, you got to get in your car, drive, and train with somebody else. So there was a guy 45 minutes away. I would be at his house at 7:00 on Saturday mornings. We would load Atlas stones, log press. He had a car that you could flip, and it was the old days. So whatever anybody wanted to do, you jumped in and did it, no matter how beat up you got. St. Louis was a 4-hour drive away. So I would go up there and train with Willie Wessels and his entire crew. And they begin at 8:00. So I remember going to the gym, showing up, and my dad went with me. So we were eating breakfast at like 6:45, 4-hour drive.
So when was this? Was he still powerlifting at that time, or was he completely?
Willie, he had stopped powerlifting and was doing strongman at the time.
Okay.
So, but they are so much like, I walked in the door at 8:30 or 8:00, 7:30, and there was a whole crew that had already finished their full gear squats in a monolift. It's 7:30 on a Saturday morning, you know, and then there was another crew waiting to get in the monolift at 8:00, you know. So if you weren't there when everybody got started, good luck. You're done for the day. But, you know, you drive up there, you jump in the crew. If they're squatting, if they're deadlifting, that's what you did. If they're loading stones, super yoke, tire flip, you just jump in there and do everything that everybody's doing, and you just watch and listen. And you know, there's one guy good at stones. You know, why is he doing threes? Why is he loading to a high platform? Why is this guy loading to a low platform? You know, the one guy that's good at grip, what else is he doing? So you start asking questions and trying to remember everything that you can. And then you go back and you do whatever you can. And I beat myself to pieces because this guy did all of this and this guy did all of this. So I went back home and I had to do all of that and slowly deduct and figure out what was crap, what was real, what was going to work for me and what wasn't.
How do you figure that out? Because at the same point, you're doing a ton of stuff.
Trial and error. I don't think I really figured things out till probably 7-8 years ago, when I could really sit down and kind of see the full picture. And that didn't really come until I began working with other people. And I began having to see the full picture for other people. How
long have you been working with people?
I was working with my parents when I was 16. Mm-hmm. So I'll be 47 in a few days. I began designing the training programs for the people who would come and train with me at my parents' house. That was 2002, 2003, something like that. And I've been working online. See, my son is 16. I began working with him when he was born. So I've been working with clients online for 16 years. But I would say the last 7 years is when it really got me that, you know, to be able to see the full picture, you know, that I don't have to go 100%, that I don't have to use this method or that method. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. To start thinking about, most of my clients now are entrepreneurs. They work high-end, very stressful jobs. They have kids. And they want to pick up a book and say, I saw this somewhere, so that's what I'm going to do. And I learned so many people coming out with ebooks, and I try to buy an ebook every week and read it. And I go through the book and I'm like, there is no way anybody can do that program except them. There is no way. I can't. The perfect example for that is, what's his name? Nate. He was here. Special Forces guy. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling so bad that I can't think of his name, but he came out with an ebook and I bought it. And I realized that real quick that nobody can do the conditioning work except him. But yeah, I didn't learn that for a long time. A lot of guys writing books for 198-pound athletes. And, you come to realize that the guys who weigh 300 can't do the same programming as the guys who weigh 198. The 50-year-old strongman athletes can't do the same programs as the guys who are 250 and then just, the regular open category. So after working with so many people, I've learned to put things into a lot more perspective and try to make it work.
So if you were to give me an elevator pitch on your training philosophy, what would that be?
I think the big word, the big thing that's changed everything for me is the word "it depends."
2 words.
It is. I think I realized that I hated people that would come on Instagram and say, "This is the solution. Your back hurts. These 3 things right here. Do it." The real expert, and we've learned this through training and working with special needs children. People always ask you, "What's the one thing I can do to help my child? What's the one thing I need to do to fix my child? What's the one thing I need to do to build my deadlift?" And the answer is, it depends. Because the real expert looks at everything and says, well, the real answer is it depends. I can't give you the one simple thing. It depends on everything from who you are, mentally, physically, what your injuries are, what your sleep is like. A lot of my clients that I work with, their 80% intensity is totally different from someone else's 80% intensity. And that has to be taken into consideration.
So how do you anchor that to be able to know when you're communicating with them that it is 80%?
It takes a while with watching them on video. So it does take a good solid 4 to 6 weeks of sitting around and looking around. And I'm telling you to, put 80% on the bar and I'm looking at you and you just barely moved, or you got a double with 80% and you almost got a nosebleed. That wasn't 80%, so for every individual client, it needs to be adjusted a little bit. I think most of my clients that work with me that come from working with other coaches, they generally say the same things. I hurt less. I'm still making progress, and I'm having a lot more fun than I used to. Those are the 3 things.
How do you intake them? Or not intake, but then once they come to you, because you kind of know how they were training. Right. But then what's the basic plan that you're going to put them on for you to start to accumulate the information you need for them to progress?
Usually week 1 is super simple. I mean, if you wanted to see somebody squat, you would, okay, here's a box. Let's see you box squat. Let's add a plate. And let's just, okay, now do it again. Because you've done that with me on squats. You've done that with me on bench press. Do it again. And I can see you just judging me and figuring out what's going on. So I will put them on, whatever's the most simple. I ask every client what works for you and what doesn't. Can you tell me what works for you? Because if you know that there's a certain exercise that just absolutely works for you every time, or if you say low volume works best for me over high volume, most people always say, oh, max effort works best for me. And immediately I'm thinking, no, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. You're 53 years old. Max effort is not where your bread and butter is going to be.
Well, how would they define what that is when you ask them?
I don't know. That's what I've got to figure out. Mm-hmm. But, if they say these 3 exercises are absolutely 100% no, I'm not going to do them. Then why would I work? Or first of all, I want to know why they wouldn't do them. Because they suck. They don't know how to do it, or they hate it. Because if they hate doing the exercise and I tell them to do it every single week, they're going to halfway do it, or they're not going to do it at all. And they're just going to tell me they did it and they're not going to do it. But just trying to read the videos and get an idea of what they're doing, how their recovery is going, how much feedback they're getting me. Because a lot of clients will just get to the end of the week and say, I'm done, ready for the next one. And then I've got clients that will send me an hour and a half of video And I'm just like, I don't need an hour and a half of video.
Mm-hmm.
I just, send me what you think is important. Send me what I think is important. And any questions that you have, make sure that I know that. But usually after 3 weeks, I can have a pretty good idea. You're really weak here. You really suck here. Is it all technical? And I get a couple of clients that will their technique on everything is perfect. It's fine. But, everything else is, maybe it's mental. Maybe they don't know how to rotate. Maybe it's every week I'm just going to work up. I'm going to do 5 by 5. Why are you doing 5 by 5? I don't know. It's a good number. Other people did it. I read it in a book. I think that most people benefit from me because they need someone to lay down structure. And I think, learning from the conjugate program, I think that is the biggest thing for me with the conjugate system. Let's say not the program, but the conjugate system is to be able to look at things as the huge picture of everything, how we're going to get there. It's not every week we're just going to keep going up. We have to rotate things. And in strongman, it's even more important because if you still got to squat, press, and pull, and then if you've got to add 5 events on top of that, well, you're working in the mental, physical, and technical portions of all of that. You're absolutely fried. So if you're doing, if you're working on log press and Atlas stones and deadlift, and you're beating your biceps up and your back up and everything else, you've got to have 2 of those 3 lifts that are on the scale of like a 3 out of 10. You can press one of those really, really hard, but most everybody just goes to the gym. I'm going to work as hard as I can on everything, and I'm going to wonder why I'm beat up after a few weeks. Mm-hmm. So if I can lay down some kind of structure and have some kind of vision over what they're going to do over the next month, the next 8 weeks, the next 12 weeks, the rest of the year, then most people really, really benefit from that because they don't know how to have any kind of structure, which blows my mind because how can these people be business owners and they know how to run a business very, very well, but they can't sit down and look at their own training and say, I need to have a plan. I need to learn, I need to study, and I need to have a plan on what I'm going to do in the gym. And you don't have to know the best exercises, but you have to be able to analyze what's working for me and what's not, what's beating me up and what's not, what am I making progress out of and what's not. And then how do I continue to rotate that? But that's always blowing my mind. Somebody will, making $500,000 a year owning their company.
Are you looking to boost recovery, enhance your sex drive, and improve performance in the gym? Do you think your hormones are out of whack and you're tired of getting the runaround from your doctor? Things like your hormones are just fine, stop lifting heavy weights, etc., etc., etc. I know what that feels like as I've been down that road most of my life. This is why we've partnered with Marek Health. Marek Health is a premium telehealth platform that specializes in hormone optimization and preventative medicine, ensuring a better quality of life. Marek Health offers a Table Talk panel tailored for our listeners, featuring comprehensive tests like total and free testosterone, sensitive estradiol, and advanced markers like lipoprotein A and IGF-1. These comprehensive panels of up to 84 carefully selected biomarkers allow you to identify areas of enhancement and maximize your physical, cognitive, and sexual performance. It's much different than the panels you may get from your doctor. Choose between self-service options where you can select lab panels based upon decades of experience, or opt for guided optimization with your own health coach. Start with a detailed breakdown of your labs and receive personalized treatment options, both over-the-counter and prescription. Visit marekhealth.com/tabletalk and use the code TABLETALK to get 10% off your first order. Marek Health isn't just about better health, it's about empowering you to take control of your well-being.
Easily, if not multi-millions, but they can't figure out how to put together, their training program. And a lot of clients, they'll hire me because they don't want to spend any of their time. They just want a recipe. They want to walk in the kitchen with a recipe on their phone and say, all I have to do is this, and I'm going to be successful.
But they're still going to need a certain degree of personal accountability to be able to know if they're recovering or not.
Absolutely. And man, you're going to get me fired up before the day gets going. People won't tell you they're getting beat up. If I was in here training with you and you saw me come in the door and you saw all my training sessions, you'd be like, man, he's beating the heck out of himself. Or really, Clint's not training hard at all. But I'm doing this through a computer and whatever they're willing to type out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody really ever says, man, I'm really beat up and I'm really worn down. I'm overtrained until they've been that way for like 6 weeks. And then they'll finally admit, I'm really beat up. So I constantly try to push that conversation of, how are you feeling? What's your recovery like? Are you sleeping okay? Is there something hurting? Is there an exercise that you would just love if I'd never asked you to do that I keep asking you to do every single week? And the answer is almost always, yes, I hate these. These good mornings suck. Or I hate the box squats, or I hate front squats. Or why did we stop doing front squats? I love the front squats. So why didn't you tell me that whenever we were doing them? Or my sleep is terrible. My newborn kid is keeping me up all night. Work is crazy. It's crazy hot outside. This is what I do. Let me change it for you. Whatever I'm giving you is not the only way to get from point A to point B. We can pick out a million ways to get to where you want to go. Just tell me what's going on and we can switch things around and make it happen.
Have you been able to speculate what's going on or what's going to happen before it happens? Because you can do that in a personal setting. Like the people that you train with at your place, you can tell, when they walk in, but it's a whole nother thing when it's online.
Well, I had a client, really great guy. So I think anytime you preface a story with, but he's a really great guy, something good is coming. I worked with him for a solid 6 weeks before I realized that I'm giving him 7 days worth of programming and he's finishing them in 3 days. So like every 3 to 4 days, he's like, I'm done. I'm ready. I'm like, how did you train 4 times in 3 days? So you don't ask a lot of questions about personal stuff right at first. So after about 6 weeks, he tells me that he is manic depressive and he sleeps on average 14 hours a week. So this absolutely helps him thrive in his business that he owns because he gets super creative and will just work nonstop. But then he's training 2 and 3 times a day. So he might be doing a full squat session in the morning and a full bench press session in the evening. And the next morning he's deadlifting again. And then he's doing an overhead press the next evening. And then he's like, I've done the whole week. What else am I going to do? And he's still just zooming. I mean, just brain is going like crazy. So he's like, I've got to have something else to do. So we go through all that. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, well, I just don't tell people that. Why not? Because this is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important. And for someone like him, and I worked with a lot of people who are manic depressive, one of the biggest things that we figured out is most of them love doing max effort stuff like crazy. Everything, and they will thrive for short periods of time, for months, off just going in the gym and either maxing on every lift with singles, doubles, or triples, or they'll do something bodybuilding style, hitting failure on every single set. But the harder that I push them, the higher they go up into that state of mania. Eventually, the farther they will fall into that state of depression, and they will stay there a lot longer. So I would work with him for a month, 6 weeks, and he would just be flying out PRs every training session, which is twice a day. And then just all of a sudden, I wouldn't hear from him for like 2 weeks. He's like, I'm sleeping. He said, I can't move. I just can't leave the house. I don't want to see any sunlight, nothing. So what I've learned is even a simple program, sort of 5-3-1 based, where the idea is we're only going to push real hard on one set. And I would like you to kind of temper that based off a training max. So I'm not going to let you go nosebleed crazy. They're less happy with doing a 5-3-1 kind of program. But if I can keep them even on their training, they never go up and peak into a full state of mania, and they never end up falling into a full state of depression. Because I found that the harder that I pushed them in training, the faster they got into depression. So I would like to think he was my huge turning point for learning about I've got to ask more questions with everybody that I work with. I've got to ask personal questions. What's work like? What's your family like? Is everything okay with your wife, your kids, your business? Is there anything you need to tell me about your psychological health? And I've learned that everybody that I work with has an issue. Every single person, especially the men, have some sort of issue and they don't talk about it. They won't talk about it for whatever reason. For some reason, they look at, I'm in the gym because I'm a tough guy and I'm around a bunch of other tough guys. And I go to the gym to be one of the tough guys in the gym with the rest of the crew. So I'm going to go home and I'm just going to hold it all inside. I'm going to go to the gym and release the demons, after I've had a rough day. And then I'm going to go home and what? And what they don't realize is that for most people, they're using the gym and that intensity to cover up something. And it just continues to get worse until it gets really, really bad and they swing the other direction. But I think working with him was definitely one of the key things, definitely one of the points in my business life where I learned a lot more about, I've got to care a lot more about every individual and what's going on outside of the gym just as much as I do what's going on inside the gym.
How do you build that trust when you're online?
It takes time. I think most people realize they can trust me. I think most people who come to me now are like, this is a guy that I trust. A lot of my clients pay me because I don't say anything. I've had Olympians come to my gym and train because I don't say anything. You never know they were there. They come and they talk about drug use. You never hear a thing about it. I can't tell you how many guys I've had in the finals of World's Strongest Man, podium finishers, and they go back online and there's never a coach, hashtag Clint Darden. It's never there. So a lot of those guys pay me because I don't take the credit. I don't have to say, I know this about so-and-so. I know this about so. They know that when it's said to me, it's a dead end. That's as far as it ever goes. So I get a lot of referral from people. Hey, I heard you worked with so-and-so. They told me they worked with you. Can you help me out? But it's hard. I think the more that I've opened up about myself and the more that I can share, man, it's been a rough day with my son, because I'm writing an email. There might be 3 or 4 pages to every client every single week, and I include family photos, every single week with, what's going on. Most of my clients know, my son's doing this week. And my son said the word bacon last week. We went to Waffle House and my son said, I want bacon. You would believe we got bacon, and for most parents, that's not a big deal. But my son said, I want bacon. We got bacon. And every single one of my clients is going to hear that my son said he wanted bacon, didn't eat a bite of it, but he said, I want bacon. So we went to Kroger yesterday here and he said, I want Roblox. And he went and got a little gift card from Kroger, a little Roblox gift card. And he holds it up and he said, I want to go to Yaya's house, which is grandma's house. So he will find a computer and sign into whatever. And he thinks we're going to use this gift card to buy something. And I don't know. I guess he probably can. But, those are little things to most parents, but to me, it's a big deal. And all of my clients will know that these little things are important to me. And I think that helps them to see me as a person, as a father, as somebody who gets excited about the little things, who also says, man, I've had a bad day. I've had it's 3:00 in the morning. My son has screamed all day long. My wife hasn't slept in 3 days because she's working. I can open up with them a little bit. They can open up with me rather than just, here's your program, send. Here it is, send. So I'm hoping that over time, I continue to build trust with a lot of people.
So to go back to the programming of the strongman, and as it progresses, obviously it depends, right, on the person.
It depends.
But once they start to become intermediate or higher intermediate, how does that rotation begin to unfold for the training?
As they become more, as you understand more about how to play the game, how to play the sport. I mean, you're no longer teaching the fundamentals of football. These kids have been on the field for a while and they have an idea when a play's called what to do. So what you have to realize, am I looking at someone who just needs to get stronger? That they're very, very technically efficient on all the implements, the strongman implements. They know how to play the game, but they've just got to get stronger. And it's hard to convince those people that just want to play the game that we've got to go back and work on your squat, your bench press, and your deadlift. And we've got to do some shoulder raises and a bunch of the dumb stuff that nobody wants to do, abs and glute hams and things like that. But at the same time, we can narrow things down to where you're just working really primarily on your squat on the back burner. We can shift it over to a front squat, paused front squats, things like that. And you could do an event every day. 4 sessions a week, so we may be looking at doing a lot more things. Instead of overhead press, instead of bench press, we have a log press day with a board press as an accessory or a slingshot press as an accessory. You get a lot more flexibility on things that you can add in there and it just not be super strict. And the smarter that they get, the more that I can write on today's plan, the goal is. So if they have to walk in the gym and call an audible, if the knee feels funny, if a hip feels funny, my elbow feels funny, or that just all of a sudden today's the day I feel strong, it's a PR day, then go for it. But let me know, that way we can make adjustments next week. So the better that they get, beginner, intermediate, advanced, the more I can give them a lot more freedom to kind of go in. And if you got to make an audible call in the day, you can do that. The more we can focus on just the events, or the more we can focus on just the lifting. Because a lot of the elite athletes that I work with, there's really not a lot of squat, overhead press, and deadlift. Most of it is the implement. It's playing the game and harnessing that skill. And then we may do a squat as a secondary exercise, and it won't even be that hard. I mean, you go back and you start thinking, how many YouTube or Instagram videos have you seen of, the top 30 world's strongest man guys killing themselves on a squat? I mean, anybody watching this, just think about how many strongmen post a video of them killing themselves on a squat. You don't see it. You watch them do some fun deadlifts. You watch them do some fun overhead presses, but you don't see them killing themselves. They don't have to. You don't have to. Every event that you do is lower body based. And if you're doing a ton of deadlift work, you're doing all the strongman events, the risk to reward ratio of really pushing the squat is pretty high.
So what would be an example of a goal for a day?
I hear you freaking say it all the time, mental, physical, and technical. So every single training session has to have something. Usually I enjoy some sort of core lift. In the off season, that core lift is almost always going to be a squat, a press, or a pull. And then we'll do something to build that. And then we try to finish off with a strongman event.
Well, I like the example that you gave, that, if they have here's the goal or goals for this training session. And then if they're intermediate and they have some experience, they know, and they know how to regulate everything around those goals. Right. So is that something that you'll put in there for each one of their training sessions?
I do my absolute best to. Well, I mean, you've seen Elia, my training partner, in here. But, if I have a client who's going to a gym, and what if I've wrote down log press for the day, and they get to the gym and there's a group of guys over on the log. They've got one log. What else are we going to do? Well, also, the point of the day was to do something to improve your log. This is the thing. If Friday night for me is to go outside and it's Atlas Stone night, it's Atlas Stone training day. What's the point of that day? To go outside and do Atlas Stones? Or is the point to go outside and do something to improve my Atlas Stones? And that's what I want people to think about. If it's bench press day, and we said today's bench day, is it really bench press day? Or is it the day that you go out to the gym and you do stuff to improve your bench press? Because if you saw me bench press, and I'll try to bench press on Sunday, you're probably going to look at me and say, man, why are you even bench pressing? You need triceps and you need shoulders and rear delts and lats. You need to quit pressing altogether, because I can raw press like mid 200s maybe. So why am I worried about a 500-pound shirted bench? Other than I want it and I like it. So you're going to say, dude, you got to work on a bunch of therapy stuff. So the idea, if I really wanted to make progress, is to do stuff that makes it better. So if it's log press day and you get to the gym and the log's covered up, you should know that, hey, I could do incline dumbbells. I could do incline shoulder saver. Incline shoulder saver press. And that's a big one with all my clients, is the freaking incline shoulder saver. All my clients should have a shoulder saver, especially if you can do a close grip incline shoulder saver, your log press will go up. And if you're beating the heck out of your back with yoke and farmers and Atlas Stones, and then the regular standing log press, you might make better progress by doing incline shoulder saver than you will by pressing on the log. But it takes an intermediate lifter at least to know that, hey, we can do other things. And it takes a coach who will sit down and say, okay, here's another option for the day. Because I know sometimes when you get to the gym, that log is not always open. The deadlift platform is not always open. What if you can't deadlift until the end of the training session? What do you do before that? Well, we're going to do 45 minutes of lats before that. There's always a plan A and a plan B. And I tell people this all the time. There are 4 different variables of what a coach is. So you have a coach. He's just a coach. He shows up and he cares. And that there's value in that. For me, most of the time, it's my dog on Monday and Friday nights. He's there and he cares whether I'm training log press, sandbags, Atlas stones. He's there and he cares. You have a good coach, which is a coach who shows up with a plan. That's not my dog. So you have someone who shows up, we're here to coach the kids. We're here to help with the basketball game. Here's the plan for the day. Here's the plan for the week, the month, for the season. That's a good coach. You have a great coach that shows up with a playbook about this thick. So he knows that there are so many ways to get done what needs to get done. He opens the playbook and this is what we're going to do. And this is what we're going to do. Now, the elite coach is the one who has a playbook this thick, and he knows the exact moment, the exact time when to pull out each individual play to work for that situation right then and right there. Now, I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm at that elite level yet with the clients that I work with, but that's what I want to do. I want to go from being a great coach with a thick playbook to an elite coach that knows exactly when to play every single play to make it work for that client in that situation.
So how do you go about refining your skills to get there?
I buy every single book that I can and read it. And I'm trying to constantly analyze because I get feedback from my clients on a weekly basis. So I try to get a general idea. What did I ask you to do? That was the plan. I want you to tell me what you actually did and how you feel. And then I want to analyze that video. And then all I'm doing is trying to figure out what was the difference between what I asked you to do, what I hoped you would do, and what you did and what the outcome was. And then how do we refine that? Then I'm constantly trying to build a base of knowledge on the differences between what I asked you to do and what the outcomes were. So the next time I ask you to do something, the goal is the outcome. The goal is never for you to do what I ask you to do. The goal is to get a great outcome. So if I ask you to do this and you're doing that, but you're still getting the great outcome, then I need to continue to ask you to doing this. I need to ask you in a better way. But that's going to come down to me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is always telling me I've got to write an ebook. And I keep saying no. She's like, why? I said, because everything I will say in that ebook is going to be copyright. Everything is going to be copyright. Every video I've watched, every ebook I've bought, and I buy 50 ebooks a year. I mean, minimum, whether it's training or programming or sports science or anything. I sign up for all the train heroic stuff. Anybody's got a log press program, and really all I do is I learn what's crap. I learn the difference between what's good and somebody just wrote something down, and nobody can do that. Nobody can do what they're asking you to do. But what I've become good at is looking at every single book and saying, you know what, this page right here, this week of programming right here would work well for this client over here right now. And then 6 months down the road, I may see another client that's in the exact same situation in their training. Maybe they've got to make progress in their Atlas stones, but their hips are beat up from everything. What do you do? I look at almost everyone who has set a world record in Atlas stones over the last 10 years. They train Atlas stones twice a week leading up for that. Nobody comes out and says they're training Atlas stones twice a week. Well, what do you do for your squats? What do you do for your deadlifts? If you're a strongman, do you just stop training squats and deadlifts for the 12 weeks leading up to that? You can't do that. So what do you do? How do you program that? How do you effectively program some kind of something for your legs, some kind of something for your back that doesn't beat you up? And then everybody worries about, an Atlas stones. I'm going to tear a bicep. What's going to kill my back? That's not the first thing that goes on Atlas stones if you're training them twice a week. Your hips are. The most important thing is if you're wanting to set a world record on Atlas stones or a PR, you need to be doing something for Atlas stones twice a week. And you need to be getting someone to work on your hips at least once a week, because your hips, the sockets, everything are going to be beat up like crazy. But it took me a long time to realize that. And I had to have a couple of clients going for world records before I realized, their hips are getting beat up. So then you see me out for a couple of years training Atlas stones every Monday and Friday night, realizing, man, I've got to put on some gateway briefs. I'm using a whole lot more liniment on my hips. My hips are hurting like crazy. What can I do to change that?
And I mean, so for you, what was that you had to change?
The biggest thing was backing down on all my squats. I had to back off whatever I would normally do for sets and reps, I had to knock off at least 10, if not 15% off what I would do. So the intensity came down a lot. And that sucks because I don't want to knock the intensity off anything. So for me, I came up with a front squat program, and actually it's based off an old Travis MASH front squat program or squat program of some really long paused front squats in the hole. So like week one is like a 7-second pause. You work up to a max single, and it doesn't mean max intensity, but it's a single for the day with a 7-second pause in the hole. So you've got to sit there with that perfect posture, upright, in that bottom front squat position and hold it for 7 seconds. And then you're going to come to the top, and before you rack it, you're going to hold it in that position for 13 seconds. So you've hit your max single, and then you drop off somewhere around, he suggests around 25%. I can't do 25. I'll knock off 40%. And that's what I found most effective for everyone else. And then I'll add a mini band on top of that. And then it's 3 sets of 3 with that weight. And each rep is still done with the pause in the bottom and a hold at the top. And if you've got bands on the bar and you're standing in a front squat position and you're holding that position, I've got a harness for 13 seconds for every rep that you do. It's eyeball popping. It's crazy hard. And you find that all the muscles in your glutes, anything that's weak or screwed up, is going to start twitching anywhere in your body. So I've got clients that'll be my hamstrings were killing me. My glutes were killing me. My back was just on fire. And it picks up all these little weaknesses that nobody even really knew was going on with the athlete. And then you continually decrease the pause in the hole. You continue.
Are you looking to boost recovery, enhance your sex drive, and improve performance in the gym? Do you think your hormones are out of whack and you're tired of getting the runaround from your doctor? You know, things like your hormones are just fine, stop lifting heavy weights, etc., etc., etc. I know what that feels like, as I've been down that road most of my life. This is why we've partnered with Marek Health. Marek Health is a premium telehealth platform that specializes in hormone optimization and preventative medicine, ensuring a better quality of life. Marek Health offers a Table Talk panel tailored for our listeners, featuring comprehensive tests like total and free testosterone, sensitive estradiol, and advanced markers like lipoprotein A and IGF-1. These comprehensive panels of up to 84 carefully selected biomarkers allow you to identify areas of enhancement and maximize your physical, cognitive, and sexual performance. It's much different than the panels you may get from your doctor. Choose between self-service options where you can select lab panels based upon decades of experience, or opt for guided optimization with your own health coach. Start with a detailed breakdown of your labs and receive personalized treatment options, both over the counter and prescription. Visit marekhealth.com/tabletalk and use the code TABLETALK to get 10% off your first order. Marek Health isn't just about better health, it's about empowering you to take control of your well-being.
Continually decrease the pause at the top, and we continue to see that their Atlas stones go up. They're using a much lighter weight than they would normally use for a squat. They're working on their posture. Their overhead press goes up, because when you're standing tall at the top of that front squat and you get the bands pulling down on you, it starts getting your legs locked in, your upper body. You learn to lock in your upper body the way you're ready to drive with those legs. When you're ready to overhead press, you're ready to explode out of the hole with an Atlas stone, with a sandbag, with the super yoke coming out of the floor with farmers. So you can do it hard and effectively, efficiently, without beating yourself up.
How long will that run?
I've got a 12-week program, but I've really found that taking that 12-week program and cutting it down to somewhere around 6 is probably a lot more effective. I've generally found that looking at the long-term programming of 12 weeks with anything is less effective with me programming them. It might be more effective with someone else. I want to take some responsibility. So it might be more effective the way somebody else views, their peaking. But if I can find something that works in a cyclical manner, 4 to 6 weeks, I prefer to run that twice. And the second time I run it, we've learned from the first time we've run it what adjustments we need to make on the second time we run it. So we're not getting down to the final stage if you've got to go get this, PR on Atlas stones. And we're still learning about the process for you. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Are the other core lifts rotating in that same block?
Yes, but if you're training for a PR in any event, really, that has to be your main focus. And the percents drop off everything else. Your body's just not going to take it. And that's when you see someone at like the Arnold, or you see someone at World's Strongest Man, that is the beauty that you don't realize, that these guys have done everything they can to get a little bit more out of those events on that day or that given week. And that's so freaking hard to do.
Is it too much to specialize on more than one event?
I don't think so. Let's say you look at your week as a 7-day week, and you're looking at it as a 7-band equalizer in your car. You remember the old Alpine radios we had in the 80s and the 90s in our car, and you had to go get the little CD players, and you had the little put the little EQ in there. So you have to look at each day as kind of like, the EQ adjustments, or it's an exercise for that day. So if I take the bass and crank it all the way up, everything else next to it, all the other frequencies next to it, if I continue to push them all the way up, eventually I'm going to blow my amp. I'm going to get distorted sound coming out of the speakers. So the higher that I push up one exercise or one day, something else has to be pulled down to balance that out. Because if you start driving something up and going nutty on it, you've got to understand that you're going to pull back. So that's when, if you understand, hey, I've got to push on these 3 events that I've got to make serious progress on. You've got to do a couple of things. You have to realize, again, mental, physical, and technical. So, and the point of improving it is not just train harder, but train smarter. So you can focus on the technique part of everything. You could work with me on the bench press with a plate and make my bench go up 50 pounds in a day by saying, dude, Clint, did you forget to tuck your elbows? You've been benching for 30 years. Why aren't you tucking your elbows? And it's going to click that I'm just not tucking my elbows. You can improve my lift by making me go lighter. I'm going to recover more on that day so I can push harder on the other days. Or I can spend a whole lot more time doing every recovery method that I can think of, ice baths, or heat, massage, whatever it might be. And I think that's where a lot of athletes get in trouble with going to the extreme of doing whatever they possibly have to recover or to get ahead, when you realize I'm not as far ahead as I need to be to compete with the other guys. And they start taking risks. And I know that because everybody's done it, including myself.
So with the recovery modalities, when you have those in there, are they phasic as well, or is it always in?
I learned this from you. And I don't even know if you said this on video or if you told me this, but you were saying something about, I think, foam rolling or something. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on an injury. So it's only going to help you for a certain amount of time. Because if my hips hurt and I can foam roll and get rid of that hip pain, well, I'm going to go train just as hard as I was before. If my back hurts and I can take 2 ibuprofen and I can go squat and deadlift, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go squat and deadlift. I'm not addressing the problem that caused that. So I'm going to continue training. And when that stops working, I'm going to foam roll a little harder. I'm going to take another ibuprofen, and that's going to be what gets me through that. So I definitely think you have to figure out which recovery modality works best for you. And then you have to be honest which one is really working best for you. And the assessment process is a big thing. I try to tell all my clients that. I've got a client coming today, so he's dropping by the store here today in a few minutes. His wife is a professional race car driver, not a top fuel dragster, but one of those cars just down from a top fuel dragster. It looks like a top fuel dragster. It comes with a really big point with the tiny wheels on the front and the giant ones on the back. That's what his wife does. I can't make him understand. He sends me a text message the other night that he finished the squat program for the day and his legs are dead and he can barely walk. So you got to massage it. You got to stretch your quads. You got to stretch your knees, stretch your ankles, get your back going. And his reply was, I'm on it tomorrow. So I can't get him to understand that his wife will change the oil on her car every time she goes down the track. But he can't understand that because he went and trained and killed himself in the gym, that he needs to do therapy work before he goes to bed that night, that he needs to heat and ice his knees, that he needs to do whatever, put an E-stem on his quads and his knees that are hurting, here and there, that his back is killing him. What did you do to make that better? Try something, figure something out and do it. And that stuff like that just drives me insane, that people can figure these things out at one point in their life, but they can't put it together in the gym, especially when the gym matters to them. Because I don't think I have any clients that the gym is just something they go and they do. Yeah, I just go to the gym. Every client that I have, the gym is important. They can no longer afford to fail at being in the gym. And I mean grown men that can't bench 2 plates, but going to the gym to them means a lot to them personally. There's nothing on the line. There's no money. There's no contracts. There's no sponsors. Nobody's watching. It's them in their basement, 5 o'clock in the morning before the kids wake up. And to them, they contact me because they can no longer afford to lose. This training means a lot to them, and they'll do whatever it takes. And when you start spinning your wheels for so long and you're not recovering, you have back pain, you have knee pain, you have shoulder pain, you're not benching what you want to bench, you'll do whatever. And I think those are the people that I continue to get the best results out of, because they are willing. There's like their backs against the wall. They feel that way anyway. So those guys, it's not hard to convince them, go at it every night and do 100 tricep band pushdowns. Get the blood back in your elbows. Your elbow's hurting, your shoulder's hurting, and your doctor told you to wait 3 weeks before you trained again. I don't think that's the solution. Let's figure out what you can do to get it moving. And those guys, go buy a Donnie Thompson bow tie. They don't have any problem buying, what's the F8, not the Widowmaker, but there's a single ply kind of slingshot catapult, something that you wear that's like a half bench press shirt kind of thing. They have no problem picking up one of those because it might allow them to train and make the progress that they need. It might allow them to recover. And you just continue to try things until you find something that works, and that you can do. There are a lot of things that work, but not everybody can work a 16-hour day and then come home and fix an ice bath. I can't do an ice bath. We don't sell that much ice in Cyprus, and it's too freaking hot, But I think just having maybe someone like me who I've got 20 different ideas on how to make something work. So if you haven't found a solution, I'll find one.
Now, would there be any point in time where the training is going to down-regulate because they're so beat up?
The goal is they shouldn't get beat up.
Yeah.
So if they've gotten beat up, it's my fault. I have a client that competes there's a new natural strongman federation based out of England. And they're a couple, and it's a legit natural drug testing, and the weights are serious. The athletes are serious. It's really, really impressive. Pavlos is his name. And he competed a couple times earlier this year, and just is one of those things leading up to the meet where if things could have gone wrong, they went wrong. Little things with work, money, job, just little things start going wrong. And, he went and did a competition, and he thought he was going to do really, really well, placed top 3 or something, and he made it like 5th or 6th. So he comes home and he's like, man, these guys are younger than me now. They're so strong. They're so fast. I don't know if I can come back and compete against them. And he's got another competition in 4 weeks, another world championships in 4 weeks. And it was not a tested competition. So now he's entering the competition against untested athletes, and the weights are even heavier. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I shouldn't go. And I'm trying to explain to them, if you get an invitation to this level of competition and you ever say no, they're never going to invite you again because you said no. So I suggest you focus on being at the contest and you let me take care of everything else. So the training for the next 4 weeks was really 60% intensity at most, 1, maybe 2 lifts, including a gym lift at the gym at most. And it was just walking through it 2 to 3 days a week, cut out almost all of the strongman events because he knows how to do the events. We just got to go in the gym and not get him more burned out. He shows up, and the whole week before the competition, he's like, man, my muscles are full. Everything is full. I'm pumped everywhere. And he's got this hunger of, I'm ready to kill people kind of attitude. He took 3rd or 4th. I think he took 3rd at that non-tested world championships. And then, of course, now he's back. I'm back and ready, but I've learned from a lot of people that sometimes the best thing you can do is don't do anything, just rest. And, your old meatheads, you still got to come in the gym. I'm going to come in the gym and I want to do something, but it's got to be really, really cut back and reserved what you're going to do, how hard you're going to push it. This is the same thing if you're working with football kids on the field, except you're generally working with people in their 20s and they can pretty much take.
Yeah.
Being pushed really hard. But if you had a group of 40-year-olds playing football, you would probably at some point be like, you know what? You just need to rest today. You need to show up and you need to walk through, you need to get your ankles taped, go get some rehab done. And you need to just walk through a couple of really light snaps, some no-touch snaps. And that's what we really try to do once I realize they're already beat up. Because I think your hormone levels in all directions start changing anytime you go through a really, really stressful situation in life, whether that's training, clients that go through divorces, business, anything like that. And we generally found that however long that you've been overtrained or overstressed, it takes about 3 times as long for your body to return to normal. So once you realize, man, I've been overtrained for 3 weeks, we may have another 6 to 9 weeks of trying to get you back to feeling normal. So going in the gym and pushing hard is just because you think you need to push hard. It's not because you really need to push hard. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. How have you navigated your own training over the years?
Oh, man. I think pain and injuries have taught me more lessons than anything else.
How so?
Well, I think the last time I was here, I think I mentioned to you that I considered retiring, and I asked your opinion if I should keep going because I still want to go to Masters World's Strongest Man again. And just like that, you said, well, are you okay? Do you think you could be in a wheelchair? And I remember saying, I don't know. I really don't know. And then I went back, that was 2019. So I go back home, and this sucks to even talk about. I go back home and I didn't qualify for Masters World's Strongest Man. Laid down a plan that I was going to get up to 300 pounds around Christmas. That way, when the season started, I could push the events really hard, and that would drop me to like 285. So I would go into World's Strongest Man being 285 instead of 260. And things just didn't work that way. I began having severe back pain, the kind of back pain where you're laying in the floor in tears. And if I had a knife, I would have operated on myself. So after months of going through that and things stopped working, my wife bought me a reverse hyper, put it out on the back porch. I get my doctor to order an MRI. I go get the MRI done. And in Cyprus, they don't email all the photos from the MRI to your doctor. They give you a little USB drive and you take it home with you. And the guy who reads the MRI sends his information, what he reads it to your doctor. So then I go to the orthopedic surgeon. And of course, I went straight home with my little USB stick and stuck at my computer. I'm looking at all my spine. There were thousands of photos. And I tried to look at the one photo that looked like something I'd seen on TV, the one thing that I thought I could read. And I'm looking, I'm like, man, everything looks the same. I mean, top to bottom, from neck to, everything looks the same. And I've just got like a muscle or a nerve issue, and we're going to fix this with some therapy. So I get to the doctor and I tell him that, and he's like, you know what? You're absolutely right. From your neck all the way down to your sacrum, it's the exact same. Every single one of them is messed up. Every single disc was herniated, bulging, stenosis, the degenerative disc disease, and bone spurs. There were 5 or 6 things and it was top to bottom, every single one. And he's like, we've got to fuse you from L1 to S1, and we're going to operate from the back and the front. And I'm just sitting there with my wife, and I'm just like, the only thing I can think about is, but I got to squat on Wednesday. How am I going to squat on Wednesday if you're telling me I've got to have surgery as soon as possible? Nothing else hit me other than I'm going to squat in 2 days. And I said, okay, well, after surgery, we're talking about I'll be back at 100% in 6 months. And he said, oh, no, you're probably never going to ride a bicycle again. You're never going to be able to do anything athletic again. And I said, well, what's the point? I didn't come in here and say I was in pain. I came in here and said I could barely move my leg and my gym lifts are going down, and I want to know why. I can deal with pain. So we're going to find a different solution. So I went to another neurosurgeon. She looks at everything the exact same way, and she's doing all these little electronic tests, and there was no nerve conduction in my leg from the knee down. So she says the same thing. And my wife finds a third neurosurgeon in another city. And we eventually went and saw him, and we're sitting down. I walk in the room, and he looks at me and he's like, what sport do you play? I'm like, well, I compete in the sport of strongman, but at the elite level, not just a little local thing. And he said, well, you're masters? You're with the old guys? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, so you need a 770 deadlift. And I'm looking like, and he said, really, you need about a 700-pound deadlift to be able to just play with those guys. And I said, yeah. And he said, I think those days are done for you. I don't think you're ever going to pull 700 again. But I think it's possible that over the next several years, if everything works out well, you could pull 660. So I'm listening. And he went through every nerve conduction issue, and he couldn't explain how I could walk. He said, you're walking for some reason. I don't know what's, because I can't feel you can touch my leg. I can't feel it. I can't move my toes, nothing. And we sat down and he said, look, you can get under a squat bar or pick up a deadlift bar or a super yoke, and your spine's going to shift and you never walk again. He said, but you could also step out of bed tomorrow, go to stand up, your spine's going to shift and you'll never walk again. The chances are the exact same, whether you're squatting, deadlifting, or getting out of bed. So my suggestion is we don't look at surgery. We start running some high dose cortisone medication, and we get another MRI in 6 months, and you start going to physical therapy and do whatever you can, and we'll just go from there. And I said, I'm sold. And then over the months, my continued to get worse and worse and worse. Depression really set in. I can barely walk. I can pull like 315 maybe, something like that. Like nosebleed going hard. Just can't get my legs to work. And finally, Lily and Aaliyah, my training partners, set up a consultation with Dr. Seth. So I meet with him online, and it's really wild because I was his coach when he was in high school. So it's really weird now to see him where he's at. And we had some really eye-opening conversations. And the one that got me was, he said, how much can you deadlift? I said, I can pull 4 plates. He said, how much can you deadlift every single week and know that you're not going to be hurt? And I said, 3 plates. He said, okay, you can pick up 300 pounds. Your back is not weak. How many grown men with severe back issues can pick up 300 pounds? Really not many. He said, well, your back is not weak then. So we sat down and made a big long list of exercises and things that I could do, which I did maybe 10% of them, to be honest. But the big thing was picking out which exercises in the gym set off my back more than anything else, and avoiding the things that irritated me the most, and trying to figure out what exercises that I can do that don't set off my back, that don't set off my hips, that I can push. Sadly enough, the one exercise that sets off my back more than anything else is box squats with the SS yoke bar and tons of bands. And that's my absolute favorite thing to do. So there are still times where I will do a good 3-week cycle of box squats with the SS yoke bar and triple blues and just face turn purple. And I'm just like, I know I'm going to be screwed up tomorrow and the next week. And it's going to take some ibuprofen to get through this little 3-week cycle, but I'm going to enjoy every single second of it while I'm there. But going through all those little things and the steps and you know, everything kind of being done, and you're not going to walk, and the realization of this could be the last time I lift. So I better be freaking smart about this. I better be either willing to accept the fact that I'm never going to walk again, or I'm going to be smart enough to make the smartest choices I can possibly make in the gym, because I really want to train again tomorrow. You know, more than competing, more than getting back to compete, I want to train. I want to go in the gym and do something. I don't care if I'm pulling 2 plates. I missed a 235 bench a few weeks ago, but I benched 225 and got off the bench and yelled and screamed. I really don't care what the weight is on the bar. I don't care how heavy the Atlas stone is that I'm lifting, but I want to go out there and I want to train hard. I want to feel like I'm there in the moment, and I'm going to celebrate when it's done. That's what I want to do more than anything else.
I got to use the restroom real quick.
That works.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Are we done selling this?
I'm done. All right. Guys, this is the new elitefts.com box squat box. It weighs 73 pounds, I'm told.
It weighs 3 pounds.
You've got your story. I've got mine. He says 3. I say 73. This is absolutely amazing, guys. No joke. You can box squat on this. I'm going to box squat it tomorrow. This sucker is strong, ridiculously strong, and it is light, guys. No joke. You can carry this anywhere. Put this in your gym. Anybody can use this. It's extremely affordable as well. I really can't believe it. So I'm sure they're going to tell you all the details down below or the side or somewhere, but this thing is absolutely amazing. 73 pounds, guys. 73 pounds. All right, guys, I'm here at elitefts. I'm at the compound. Nobody is watching right now, so bear with me. I found some bands that I need really, really bad. I'm gonna throw them in my bag and take them home with me, so don't tell anybody. Bands are absolutely great. If you're looking for the safest way to train to become fast, to become explosive, become strong, safety, 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 safety. Watch some videos about using bands. Why should you buy the elitefts bands? I swear. Promise you guys, these bands will last longer than any other bands you will buy anywhere. They're a little more expensive. They're gonna last a heck of a lot longer. elitefts.com. Get your bands just like I am. See ya.
Are you looking to boost recovery, enhance your sex drive, and improve performance in the gym? Do you think your hormones are out of whack and you're tired of getting the runaround from your doctor? You know, things like your hormones are just fine, stop lifting heavy weights, etc., etc., etc. I know what that feels like, as I've been down that road most of my life. This is why we've partnered with Marek Health. Marek Health is a premium telehealth platform that specializes in hormone optimization and preventative medicine, ensuring a better quality of life. Marek Health offers a TABLETALK panel tailored for our listeners, featuring comprehensive tests like total and free testosterone, sensitive estradiol, and advanced markers like lipoprotein A and IGF-1. These comprehensive panels of up to 84 carefully selected biomarkers allow you to identify areas of enhancement and maximize your physical, cognitive, and sexual performance. It's much different than the panels you may get from your doctor. Choose between self-service options where you can select lab panels based upon decades of experience, or opt for guided optimization with your own health coach. Start with a detailed breakdown of your labs and receive personalized treatment options, both over the counter and prescription. Visit marekhealth.com/tabletalk and use the code TABLETALK to get 10% off your first order. Marek Health isn't just about better health, it's about empowering you to take control of your well-being. All right, what are some of the other things that you've had to train around and through?
Other than just general injuries, I mean, there's a lot of little things that's happened over the last couple of years that I think probably only you know about. Man, I went outside and set an Atlas Stone PR on a Monday night. Like just 100%, everything I had, yelling and screaming what I'm done, pissed off, headbutting stuff before I did it. Set a PR. And then the next morning I woke up with just a severe pec pain way up in my pec. I'm like, I've gotten sore, on a pec from lifting Atlas stones before, squeezing and pulling, and stuff hurts everywhere. And, the next morning I was sore and I'm like, man, this hurts. The next day it was still sore, and I'm taking ibuprofen, I'm taking cortisone, start developing a cough. Several days go by, I'm coughing up blood. I'm like, well, man, I must have really pulled something or have some bronchitis or something. And it was winter time. And 6 weeks later, I'm still coughing up blood and still taking pain meds for the chest pain, getting dizzy. And then it kind of hits me. I have a pretty good idea what I've done. I need to go get a blood test done. There's a good chance I've had a blood clot and an embolism. So I go, you don't have to have a doctor order blood work in Cyprus. You just show up, tell them what you want, and it's cheap. So I went in, I'm like, I want a D-dimer test. And he's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I just need a regular D-dimer test and just email me the results. So I go in his office. His place is 3 minutes from my house. I go back and get my car, and as I'm walking back into my house, my wife's phone rings. He didn't call my phone. He didn't email me the results. He called my wife's phone and said, you got to get Clint to the hospital now. So I don't know, let's say like 300 was like the high end range, and I was over 7,000. And this was 6 weeks after the fact. So I get to the ER and we run everything, and I had a pulmonary embolism and was just training through it. So I had blood clots all through my legs. That had went up and got itself into my lungs. Getting that looked at and taken care of was a huge issue. That was a big, scary thing when you realize that was, if it would have went through the heart, it could have been a heart attack. If it would have went to the brain, it was a stroke. But it went to the lungs and stopped there. And I just thought I was sore. That really changed probably an idea of I've got to take better care of myself a little bit. And there was nothing I did to cause this. But I think there were several other friends, and I hate to say names, but you and I have mutual friends that went through the exact same thing at very similar time periods and didn't make it. And that was tough to deal with on the mental side. How do I get through this? Because every time I go to push in the gym now, or then I was thinking, what if there's another clot? And I knew I had other clots in my legs. You know, I'm taking injections and pills and everything else and creams. And now I'm always wearing socks that look goofy. And, you know, so that was a big mental thing just to kind of get around what's going to happen. You know, and I've heard you talk about tearing your pec off on the bench and how you got over that just by visualizing the worst thing that's going to happen. Second on the bench, and it just rips off, you know. So I took a lot of that visualization process of just, you know, I made it through 6 weeks of having a pulmonary embolism and just thought I was coughing up blood because bronchitis or something. I didn't know. I wouldn't go into a doctor. Why am I going to a doctor? Bad stuff happens there. The big thing I haven't talked about and I haven't mentioned anywhere, so only close friends know this, and I emailed you from the hospital. I had a few weeks last year where I felt bad, just laying down on the floor, heart feels funny, maybe it's stomach acid, I don't know, breathing funny, out of breath. You know, I'm training in the gym doing box squats, and I can no longer just run people out of the gym on a dynamic effort box squat session. I was always real good at that, at doing my sets, 30 seconds rest and just flying, going. My face is turning purple. I'm getting fat. I'm trying to do cardio, watch my diet. Nothing changes. You know, I stay the absolute. I'm just fat and out of shape. Going walking every night. Just nothing's working. And then it was in October last year. I woke up. I had trained obviously max effort every single day leading up to this. Set a deadlift PR and a log PR on Sunday. Monday night, I went outside, another log press.
All right, guys, thanks for watching the video to the end. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and click here, or here for more videos.